Are you ready for career success? Your Career Podcast will help you to take control of your career. You can also find out your career success score by taking my 2-minute career success quiz. You'll get your results, analysis, and recommendations immediately. Go to janejacksoncoach.com/career success quiz. The link is in my show notes. Now, on with the show. Welcome to episode 239 of Your Career Podcast. Now, in this episode, I have a wonderful chat with Julie Hyne, certified image professional and executive style mentor. When you're unsure about your personal brand and professional image in person or online, whether you're a business owner, C-suite executive woman, or someone who just wants to revamp their visual image, it really helps to have Julie in your corner. She's a certified and highly experienced image professional who has helped senior executive women differentiate their authentic brand style and presence for over 20 years. Her Style for Life program and strategies have helped women build their confidence, executive presence, gain votes, promotions, and increase their earning capacity. And especially as businesses emerge into changing landscapes post-pandemic, an attractive appearance with appropriate grooming and personal style still plays a significant role in the success of women in the workplace. Now, Julie works exclusively with senior executive women who hold key positions of influence in Australia to convey more credibility, authenticity, and be perceived as even more intelligent and trustworthy that results in more influence, impact, and success. So let's welcome Julie to the show. And I'm very lucky to have the lovely Julie Hyne on the show today. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, Jane. Lovely to be here.
And you are looking lovely as well. So for those of you who are watching the YouTube podcast, rather than just the audio, she looks absolutely stunning, putting me to shame. I'm in my standard black and white, of course, so I need a bit of help from Ms. Hyne. And Julie is in the most amazing lime green suit, and you're looking very fresh. And Happy New Year, Julie.
Happy New Year to you, Jane. Yes, we've got another big year ahead of us.
Yeah, what a wonderful way to kick off 2023. And so, as this podcast is all about career transitions and how you can make a successful transition either into a new role or into entrepreneurship, which is what you have done, let's start off with your early career aspirations. When you were a little girl, what were you hoping to be?
When I was a little, how little do you want to go, Jane? Do you want to go
whenever you started dreaming about what you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, well, goodness me, I was such a sporting person. I played a lot of tennis and I did a lot of horse riding. So I always wanted to do something sort of in that space. I never wanted to sit inside and play the piano, which my mother wanted me to do. So I was always very active and out there. And, you know, being in an entrepreneurial family too, my father was very successful in his own business. And I guess I always thought that I would go down that path, you know, and be in charge of my own destiny. And I guess all little girls also dream of finding their Prince Charming too, don't they? And just that's where you're going to end up. So
One of those
don't work out that way though.
After.
It doesn't always work that way. I ended up a single mum actually for quite a long part of my children's lives. So anyway, it's all fine.
And look how you have turned into this incredible businesswoman. And I understand the challenges, having been a single mum myself for a while too. And I mean, it's quite hard, isn't it? You know, now that we've touched on the subject, is how do we take control of our lives and our careers in order to be able to provide for our loved ones? And if we're going to do that, we really need to be successful in our careers or in our businesses. And that's exactly what you do. And you help people in that now. But before we get to that, the magical thing that you do with executive women, tell me about how your career actually did progress as the years went by.
Sure. Well, I had to, generate income. I went to university. I did a hospitality course actually to go into the hotel industry. So that's where I started. And from there, I moved across into the airline industry and was always in a sales capacity. And from the airline industry, I moved across into the corporate world and was working as a key account manager for a large blue chip organization, which, was lots of KPIs, even back then in the 80s, lots of KPIs. So we worked really hard, had to do lots of boardroom presentations, even traveled overseas to pull together multinational deals. So that was all fine. And I loved that. I loved the, just the pressure of that and the results that we got. But, I got married and I fell pregnant. And so that I had to take maternity leave. And then it was, well, do I go back or do I not go back? And the company had gone through a major reorganization, and going on maternity leave didn't seem to matter. And so I had no job. So I had to try and think about how I was going to do this moving forward, because I wasn't just a stay-at-home person. I needed to do something. I was too creative to not do something. So just started, dabbling with a few different things, and until I eventually was in a position where separation, and I thought, well, I've got to do something now. I've got to be able to support my children. And so that's when I started my business. I started researching, because I was doing a lot of presentations to girls' schools. So I got involved with a range of makeup and skincare, and I was presenting it to girls in private schools, and I was talking to them about professional readiness, because that's I came from a private girls' school as well, and really enjoyed doing that. And I thought, gosh, there must be something in this. Maybe I can make a living out of this. So did some Google searching and found image consulting, which I'd never heard of before. And there were only a couple of trainers here in Australia, really. And so they're both very different. One was a female, one was a male. So I went and I interviewed them both to find out who I actually would prefer to train with, and selected one. And that was the start of my journey into my image consultancy. There's been a lot of other things that have happened along the way there as well.
Yeah, but whenever you go through any sort of change, from one industry to another, from one job to another, and then also transitioning into motherhood, which is a major transition, and deciding what to do, having gone through that myself as well, I know there's a lot of angst that goes on in our head about, how am I going to adapt? Who am I? Who do I really want to be? Am I still valued if I'm not working? If I'm working, how far up the ladder should I go? And so that was really quite challenging, obviously, when you were going through all of that.
Well, it was, and I just had an enormous responsibility to be able to be there for the children. I didn't want them to be latchkey kids when they came home and no one was there. I wanted to be able to go to their special events at the school. I wanted to, if they were sick, to be able to be at home for them. I didn't want to not be there. So, I put the pressure on myself to be able to create an environment whereby I could do both, whereby I could still be mentally engaged in something, which fulfilled my sense of purpose, but also be and provide for my children as well, and be a good mum. So that was really, really important to me.
Yeah. And when you set up your business then, having had that corporate experience, as well as, time being a mother full time, and then starting your own business, there's so much to get organized and to set up.
Totally.
And then not only do you get qualified in order to be able to deliver, you need to think, how am I going to market? How am I going to sell? The good thing is you had a sales background. So communicating is the key, yes?
That is the key. I had a very, very good training. And so I just applied all of the skills that I had been taught over the years into developing my potential leads, my networking skills, and creating, good content, and, sending out lead generation letters and all of the things. I sat and I used to study at night on how to do social media, how to do Facebook advertising, how to do, all of the things. I remember sending out my first MailChimp newsletter, which was just such an achievement for me because it was just so new.
Email marketing, it's such a thrill, isn't it?
What's that?
Did you feel really nervous clicking submit?
Oh, totally. Well, I sent it to someone. I remember ringing someone and say, look, I'm about to send you something. Can you just, I want to know you've received it, that it reads okay. So yeah, that was a really big milestone for me. And that, of course, that look where it is now.
Yeah, that's right. From that hesitant moment of should I submit or not? I know exactly what you mean. It's like, oh, they're going to go out. This newsletter is going out to so many people. What if they don't want to read it? Well, they delete it, don't they? So,
what are they going to think?
Yeah. Oh, so funny. But so you got over the nerves of that. Obviously, it was very successful, and you've built up your business over time. So, building a business, what would you say are the biggest challenges of that?
Look, I think it's creating your own brand. That's the biggest thing. Who are you? What do you do? What's your why? What do you represent? And getting people to acknowledge that and understand that. And for me, I'm only a petite woman. I'm not very tall. I'm quite small. And so there was always the obstacles of, making yourself heard, making yourself noticed, and creating a space for yourself where you could be heard. So that was always an issue I had. And I'm very softly spoken too. So, people would often say to me, I can't hear you very well. But that's just who I am as a person. So they were really big obstacles, and getting over the nerves of, making appointments and presenting my business as opposed to presenting another corporation. So it all rested on you. So that was probably the biggest challenge, to realize, well, you know what, Julie, you're going in for this really important meeting to, get an opportunity to run workshops or whatever it is I was doing right at the start. You've got to do this. You've got to convert this, because this is your livelihood. So, that, I think that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And now it's been quite a number of years that you've been running your business, and it's going so well. And you've got, amazing programs, and you do your coaching through this as well. And your key target are executive women, yes?
Yes, they are. I mean, I've worked with men, and I've worked with women of all different ages and who are at all different stages of their careers, Jane. But, I find now, because I'm the age that I am, and I'm, mature age woman, and most women who are in the executive space are of the same age. So they tend to gravitate towards me because they know I get it and I understand, and I can empathize with them, what they're going through. And I can usually refer them on to other people that I've connected with over the years who can help them in areas that potentially I'm not an expert in. So it's really interesting. And I'm really blessed and humbled sometimes with, the type of women who actually connect with me. Because at the end of the day, we're on the same page as being women. Doesn't matter what position they hold, what their background is. When I can connect with a woman as woman to woman, and we can talk about these issues that no one else out there really seems to want to talk about, it's the elephant in the room. It's like, it's just a load taken off their shoulders. And finally, they've found someone who actually they can talk to and can potentially help them.
And that's the benefit of wisdom and, you know, the hindsight that you gain as well through the years and years of experience. Because, you know, it's that there are image consultants who are very young and they're all talking about branding and boppy, which is fine for certain demographics. But especially in your career, as you're progressing up the career ladder, or you want to expand your professional brand and your reputation and really get noticed and be heard, you have to be able to present yourself in such a way that is compelling and also memorable. And that's what you do. Yes. So tell me, with your business now, what's your process that you take executive women through so that they can build their brand and gain the confidence so that they can really present well in meetings, compete if they need to, be heard when they're being spoken down to at times as well, or dismissed? That's very frustrating. But when you walk into a room and you know that you look good and you look professional and compelling, that makes a big difference right from the start with the first impression. Yes?
Oh, totally. I mean, their confidence levels are, you know, where they should be when they know they look good. The process I take them through, it's quite a process. It's not an overnight fix. It's not like going to engage a personal shopper to take you out to David Jones and just, you know, get you a few items. It doesn't work that way. Invariably, when women have done that and they end up talking to me, they know they've made a big mistake and they've wasted a lot of money. So we really need to identify first, well, you know, what's your journey, where you are now and where you're heading. So what does your personal brand need to, you know, what's the message that you need to put out there? What's the type of look that we're trying to create for you? And so that has to go through a process of, you know, really thinking about those sorts of adjectives, how they want the world to perceive them. And then what does that look like in a visual sense? We do that even far above and beyond going into body shape analysis, personality style expression, color analysis. And I know you understand all of this because I know you trained with this years ago as well. So once we do all of that homework, that groundbreaking stuff, which is really the essence of who the woman is and what I've got to work with moving forward, only then do I start to look at, well, come on, let's have a look. What's in your wardrobe now? And, you know, what can we work with and what should we possibly retire or move to one side because it's not actually helping you communicate the message that you want to put out there. Once we do that, we can start to think about, well, what else do we need to look for that we can add into your wardrobe that's going to elevate your executive presence, that's going to give you that look that you need, make you feel really confident when you look in the mirror, because confidence is key, you know, for these women when they walk into a room. If they know that everything's working for them, the style, the fit, the color, the look, coordination, their grooming's right, you know, that they're going to make heads turn when they walk into that room, then everything else flows. They know they don't have to second guess themselves about anything. Oh my goodness, is that right? You know, I'm fidgeting, I'm not comfortable. You know, that's really, really important because they've really got to focus on answering those really important questions which they're going to be asked.
Yeah, being able to present yourself in a way that you feel very comfortable means that's something that, okay, it's done. I can now focus on the task at hand and the content of what you're going to be delivering, or the discussion that you're going to have as well. It makes such a difference, doesn't it? And so, yeah, well, and so typically, who do you work with, Julie?
From a client perspective or on the other side of the fence?
No, from a client perspective, typically, what would you say are your typical client? Would it be mid-40s, mid-30s, mid-50s, senior executives? Who do you work with the most?
Good question, Jane. I would say probably majority of my clients are anywhere from 45 upwards, who are heading towards the pinnacle of their careers, or they may already be at the pinnacle of their careers, and they're just going through those physiological life changes that women go through, whereby all of a sudden, you know what, I don't feel the same in my clothes anymore, or they recognize that they're not getting the same level of attention and recognition that they were before, or they're just feeling horrible in their clothes. And so it's about, or they've put on weight, as can happen through menopause, and so nothing fits them anymore. And that's soul destroying for a woman to all of a sudden wake up and find that half the things in the wardrobe don't fit them the same anymore. So what do you do? How do you fix that? How do you resolve that? So it's, they're the women who come to me for help because A, they don't know what to go and look for in terms of the style. They're not sure of themselves anymore. So they're really fearful of going out there and actually investing in new clothes in case they get it wrong. So they're looking for guidance, they're looking for help, they're looking for reassurance of having the right things selected for them, which are going to complement them personally and professionally as well, and that they're going to feel really good in, as at the end of the day. So they're the sort of women who I work with, who are prepared to take that step of valuing themselves enough to invest in their personal and professional appearance. Because, at this point of our lives, we've still got another potentially 20 plus years left. So why wouldn't you want to look your best for the last chapter of your life?
Exactly right. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Especially because you still want to make your mark as a professional. You still want to create an impact wherever you may be working, whether it's your own business or whether you're in employment. And if you want to land that board role or, get to the next stage of your career, it's part and parcel of the presentation and your branding too, isn't it? Because, with branding, there's so much to consider. And of course, there's your online brand, there's your brand when you walk into a room, it's your reputation before people even meet you. And if people have heard good things about you and you turn up and you don't look the part, that casts a doubt, doesn't it? And a lot of people don't realize what a doubt, how harming that doubt can be.
Well, exactly. And it all comes down to that word reputation. And, when someone's put themselves out there, particularly on LinkedIn, for example, use that as an example, and they've got their profile shot on LinkedIn, and some people don't change their profile shot for a long time. So when they're then going for a job interview, what the interviewer sees is what is available to them on social media or whatever. So if you walk into the room and you look completely different or 10 years older, and everything else looks then they're going to doubt you. There's an inconsistency, there's a misalignment. And so all of a sudden you've got to work really hard to get yourself up to that level where you need to be, where you can build that trust and rapport again. So people have to think about their reputation and what precedes them before they're going into job interviews as well, so they can try and set the scene before they actually walk in the door.
Mm-hmm. And I think, that really is so important. And, there are some favorite designers that some people like to go to, like in the political arena. Carla Zampatti is a very popular designer, or was a very popular designer.
Well, she still is.
She's passed. Well, she's a popular designer, but I was so sad when she passed away because
very tragic.
I love those designs, and they're so classic, aren't they? So, which of the designers that you find are the most popular in Australia?
Interesting. I was just going through one of my clients' wardrobes yesterday because I have my own wardrobe app, which all my clients upload their images of their garments to, which I then coordinate, for them. And I thought, oh my goodness, this woman has Perry Cutton. Like, she should take shares out in Perry Cutton because she had a wardrobe. She has a wardrobe full of it. But I also have many women who have, as you say, invested in Carla Zampatti because it was a powerful look. It had a lot of presence. The design lines were quite dramatic, so it gave women that extra presence to compete with the men. Those strong shoulder lines and those diagonal lines, and it was all very impressive. And that's fine, but it's not necessarily perfect for every woman, because we have some women who are very feminine, for example, and some who are more, creative and natural. So when they dress in a certain brand that is not necessarily aligned with their inner personality, style, and how they really want to express themselves, then that's when they feel perhaps not as authentic as what they could do. And that affects how they come across to other people as well. So, there's a lot to be said in really understanding, your personality and how you want other people to view you. So that can interpret then into the style of clothes you wear, how you adorn yourself, how you, accessorize yourself, what colors you wear, still being mindful of what are the most impressionable colors to wear in a professional sense, and what are the colors that perhaps you shouldn't wear, and in what fabric surfaces and all that. So there's a lot that actually goes into the strategy behind the different garments that I choose for my clients as well.
Mm-hmm. And there are so many wonderful Australian designers who to choose from here, whether it's more of a feminine look or a more classic look. I remember once I bought this fabulous jacket from an Australian designer, Lisa Barron.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, that jacket was my speaking jacket, because it was white, it had the best collar, the sleeves, they opened up, so when you had your arms out to the side you looked a bit like an angel. That was my absolute favorite. And it was quite funny because I said to my bookkeeper and tax accountant, I can claim for this, can't I? It's like my uniform, because I like to wear it when I'm speaking. And they said, Jane, don't try and push that one over on us, because we know that you are bound to wear that outside of work as well. It's not a real uniform.
I guess it depends on who your accountant is, but look, it's all under the banner of professional development and personal branding. So if that's something which you're going to consistently wear, which becomes part of your look and your brand, then that's a conversation you have with your accountant as well.
Exactly. You've got to try. You've got to give it a go at least.
Absolutely, because you're doing it for your career. That's what you're doing it for. You wouldn't necessarily have gone out and bought that jacket just to wear socially.
Although I do, secretly I do, because it's so pretty. But now, what I want to know is, you are very active on LinkedIn and you project a beautiful brand on LinkedIn, and you provide a lot of value too for people who are thinking about, how should I look? What am I projecting? All of this. And so when you're on LinkedIn and you're speaking to your audience, what is it that goes through your head when you're deciding on the content that you're going to share?
I'm really thinking about what my clients' biggest issues are, and how can I connect with them? How can I draw them out to say, she's speaking exactly what I'm thinking, or she's written exactly what I was talking about yesterday. And, often, Jane, a woman can be following me for years, and she'll just be quietly in the background, and then all of a sudden they'll appear from nowhere, and because it gets them to a point where they think, all right, enough's enough, I'm done. And I'll get a message, and it's like, boom, all of a sudden they're on, and it's a client. And then the wonderful thing that happens from that is, why didn't I do this years ago?
I know. I think everybody should come to you earlier rather than later, because it'll benefit you not only in your professional life, also in your personal life too.
Absolutely.
And and would you say that the best place to connect with you will not be your website, but on LinkedIn or
Absolutely. Look, LinkedIn is where I'm at all the time. Look, everyone has a website. You have to have that presence out there, and I'm about to redo my website. I mentioned to you before, but LinkedIn is really my go-to for everything. I don't post anything really on Facebook. That's purely for personal. I rarely go there now anyway, and I don't do Twitter. So LinkedIn, I made a conscious decision many years ago that LinkedIn was going to be my playground, and that's where I play. So people want to have a chat to me, that's the place to go.
And I'll have the link in my show notes at janejacksoncoach.com/podcast, where you'll find this really interesting conversation with Julie. And I have to agree with you, Julie. LinkedIn is the best platform for professional networking, to build your brand, to really reach out to people and connect as well. And I've made so many professional connections, but also they've turned into really good friendships over the years. I joined in 2005, and it really was a job seekers platform to start off with. Now B2B, it's very strong as well. And it's the relationship building that is phenomenal. And you know, in the past year, they've had dozens and dozens of new features that they've released on LinkedIn that makes it even easier for people to connect to different
it's hard to keep up sometimes, isn't it? But you know, I agree with you, and the global connections you can make on LinkedIn are fabulous too. But if you go back, Jane, I know because we're the similar age, so we go back to years ago before we had LinkedIn, and you know, you'd want to be able to speak to someone, and the process and the you know, that you had to go through to actually try and get an appointment or a phone call with that person, and you know, it was almost impossible, wasn't it? Whereas now it's just so easy. It's
well,
so
remember they used to say 6 degrees of separation, but now I reckon it's 2 or 3 degrees of separation.
I know.
That's it.
I know. And I've even been on, you know, I remember going to Sydney once, and I jumped onto a train to go from the airport into the cities years before COVID. And this woman came up to me. She said, "Oh my goodness, you're Julie Hyne, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, why?"
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. What do you want?
Oh, she said, "I watch you on LinkedIn. I watch all your videos on LinkedIn." And she said, "You know, fabulous. Thank you so much." I was blown away.
You know, isn't it wonderful to be elevated to celebrity status? It's exciting, isn't it? But that's what you can do on LinkedIn. That's how you can brand yourself. And if you've got a really strong profile photo there that projects who you really are, and I mean that's so important, right from your eyeglasses and the makeup and the colors that you wear, all of that makes a difference. So Julie, I'd like to I could talk to you all day, but what I want to do is to find out, when it comes to career success, what would your main top tip be so that an executive woman can really elevate her presence?
Well, you know, many years ago, Jane, I was taught the principles of the 3 Ds, and they are discipline, dedication, and determination. So that applies without any further discussion across everything that I do. But I think always, you know, for the executive woman, you'd be really aware of yourself and what is the impression you're making visually, verbally, and vocally, because that's the essence of your image. And so if you're letting yourself down in one area, and I know a lot of the leadership programs that women go to do focus very heavily on the skill-based learning, they don't focus on the visual, they don't focus on how you look and your appearance. So that's one area that they potentially could be letting themselves down in. And it's about staying current as well. If you've been out of the job market for a while and you're just coming back in, the last thing you want to do is present for an interview looking like you're still back in that era. So do some homework on, you know, what is the look that you need to be presenting? Are your clothes current? You know, is your makeup current? Does your hairstyle need a revamp? You know, what are the sorts of things you can do to make yourself look as fresh and current as possible? Because that's important.
Valuable advice, Julie. And one thing I would like to add too is, what is it like to be in your physical presence? How do people feel that when they're with you? You know, are you smiling? Are you warm? Are you aloof? Are you commanding or a little bit
That's
scary?
all part of the charisma and gravitas, isn't it? That you have to project, particularly at that very senior levels. And that all comes when you have that confidence, you know, about when everything's working in your favor. That's when you can start to be your real person and your real self. And that's what you want to be able to happen. You don't want to have to try and be someone else. You want to be authentic.
Yeah. And I would highly recommend anybody who wants to aim for a board role or take their career right to the next level, up to the top, to have a chat with you, Julie, and connect with you on LinkedIn as well. What a joy it's been having a chat with you. Thank you so much for coming on to your career podcast. We've been wanting to do this since pre-COVID, and everything was getting in the way. And then, of course, COVID got in the way. And speaking of COVID, look at my COVID hair.
I know.
Just,
I know.
I haven't
It's
cut it since
amazing.
COVID. I know it's a bit of a shock, isn't it? Because I always have it very short, which you have prompted me. I need to do a new photo shoot so that I can update my profile photo as well. Or
I'll
else
even
buy,
get one
buy
for
a
myself.
wig in my old hairstyle. Okay, well, thank you so much, Julie.
You're
And
welcome.
I look forward to collaborating with you on more things in the year to come, and have a very happy and successful 2023.
You as well, Jane. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. For affordable career help, please check out my Career Success Program. I provide a unique blend of online and live career coaching to help you take control of every aspect of your career or career change. If you aren't where you want to be in your career, let's talk. Check it out at thecareersacademy.online. The links are in my show notes.